Jazakumullah khairan for joining us. We'll take this time, inshallah, to go over the juz that's going to be recited tonight, and which will be the first juz, so that we can have an understanding and somewhat appreciate the recitation as well. Now, we're not going to be able to go over every single verse. We have been doing that in our YouTube channel. You can go through it. We haven't gone so far, but this is more of a holistic way of looking at the whole juz. So we're going to mainly focus on a theme within that juz and discuss that theme. We also recited Surah Al-Fatiha and discussed that on YouTube as well, so you can refer to that for Surah Al-Fatiha. Now, when it comes to Surah Al-Baqarah, I mean, it's called Al-Baqarah, and the cow. Now, when it first starts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks of these four groups that exist amongst mankind: the believers, the disbelievers, the hypocrites, and those with devilish characteristics. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions their specific characteristics to each group and leaves it at that. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning that these four groups exist, calls all of mankind, all four groups and everybody, to come and give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's right, which is His worship. And why is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions all the things that He's favored us with in terms of creating this world, the sky and everything, even our own creation, bringing us into existence. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, how can you even think of not believing in me when you've been brought into existence and I was the one that did it? So it's really Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling us to fulfill His right because of His blessings upon us. Now then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after calling all of mankind, He gives us a story. It's like it's going to a flashback. Where in the beginning all we had was four groups, and it just mentioned this fourth group which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't speak much of, which were those with devilish characteristics. The other three groups He gave in detail who they were and what their characteristics are. With this last group, it wasn't mentioned. Now over here we go to a flashback before mankind, which is the story of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salam, which was the first man, and it includes the actual devil, where there's certain people with devilish characteristics. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us this flashback of a person, a creation that was there, and he was given a status that he was with the angels. Means his knowledge was high enough that he could sit with the angels. That means there's knowledge there. He's done a lot of ibadat. He's done everything he needs to, that he's getting this honor now to be amongst the angels, even though he wasn't from amongst the angels. With all that knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He disobeyed. And why did He disobey? It was because of pride. And where did that pride come into? Because he had a hidden agenda. Now, we're not going to get into the story of this, the details of this story right now, because it will come later on in the Quran as we go on. We just understand that there was a creation here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls him the shaitan, the devil, that he had knowledge, and instead of acting on this knowledge, he used this knowledge to bring pride and disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the main characteristic that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us over here about the shaitan. And then goes back to Adam alayhi salam. Now when Adam alayhi salam was created, just to show how much spite the devil had for him, now Adam alayhi salam, when he was in Al-Jannah, he was given one command. One command: do not eat from this tree. That's it. Look how devilish and how much trickery the shaitan used to trick Adam alayhi salam and cause him to slip and not obey that one command that was there. Whereas we're over here in this world walking around with a lot of commandments surrounding us. So we have to be very careful and not be naive and think that the devil cannot trick us. He will not make us slip or fall. We have to, if we're conscious of it, he cannot trick us. But if we start neglecting and forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's very easy to just slip up. Just like how He caused our father Adam alayhi salam to slip up. Now afterwards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the story that he told us, a flashback about the shaitan. He goes to a different scene and he calls out Bani Israel. And it doesn't say anything about them, just two different things that he reiterates over and over. Bani Israel, I've given you a lot of blessings, fulfill my right. I've given you a lot of blessings, fulfill my right. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps telling them over and over the same exact thing, that you've been given a lot of blessings through numerous stories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, where He first mentions the story of the cow, where He said that I gave you, you guys took a cow started worshipping a baby calf, I forgave you after that. You guys actually had the audacity to say, we want to see Allah, and you died because of it, and I resurrected you after that, so you can be grateful. Uh, After I gave you al-manna, al-salwa, which is food coming straight from Jannah for them. They had a cloud which continuously gave them shade, and all of that led to more of them disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept favoring them. So they had favor after favors, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still gave them more and more. To the point where they're getting food from Jannah, they said, you know what, this food is not enough for us. Can we get a different type of food? We want the stuff, that the lentils, the onions, that everyone else is eating. We want that food. And they're asking Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam, what are you coming to me for? It's in the city. They're getting food from Al-Jannah. They were getting water from rocks, which Musa a.s. was commanded to hit, and springs came out for them to drink. Those are the things that I can give you through the dua and permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're asking me for these things that's going in the markets? Go get it from the markets. And it just led to more and more ungratefulness, that even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them more and more. And again, this is within every group. It's not like it's all of them is like this. There's groups even right now within every group that we see throughout time. There's always believers, there's disbelievers. There's righteous, pure people, there's hypocrites. So it's always going on. And we're talking about those people who were actually ungrateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and caused them to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and says, what about the contract I made with you guys? There was a mountain hovering over them where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took their word that they're going to obey, listen and obey. And they said they will. They broke that contract. They went behind it. The Ashab al-Sabt, the people of Saturday, the Sabbath, where they were told not to fish. What did they do? They went around that commandment and tried to find different ways to break that commandment. Then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the second story of the cow, where there was people who were, I'm not going to get too much in detail of the story, but basically there was a group of people where they killed someone, and then they tried to put the blame on someone else, and then they came to Musa alayhi salam to find the murder of that individual. And it's just the story of the cow. As we read the translation, it's pretty clear that they kept further and further asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Musa alayhi salam, to make this cow even more like, we don't know, we could be any cow, we don't know, what about other cow, what about the color, what about this? And they kept asking more and more till it became very hard for them. And they were finally still able to find the cow. Now why did they do this? Because those people who committed the murder, they don't want the cow to be found. They want the cow to be not found because they don't want to be described and as the murderer. So they were trying to make it as hard as possible, but in the end, it came to be. Now what happened is when Musa a.s. slaughtered the cow, he was told to take the meat of it and hit the dead body, and the dead body miraculously told him who the killer is. Now, when somebody sees a miracle, you can just picture everyone there watching this miracle. All the gasping that will take place. Like, we just saw a miracle right now. With all the other miracles that's been happening with Musa a.s., but they saw this miracle. And those people that even committed the murder should have been like, okay, you know what? That was something spectacular. We're sorry. Astaghfirullah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. We'll take the punishment that's there. But yes, we did it. But what did it do? Because there's an agenda there, it led to their hearts getting hardened, even though it's a miracle. Those who actually paid attention to it and let it affect them, it softened their hearts and got them close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those that didn't, it just made their hearts harder and harder. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and tells us and gives warning that what will happen if you stop reciting the scriptures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. And he said that there's certain of them that they don't even know what's in the scripture. وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ. They can't even read as if they're illiterate to the scripture. But they still have the audacity to claim that the fire is not going to touch them. So this is what happens. We don't want to have a relationship with the Quran where we don't know what it is. We think it's like that. But yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to forgive us because we're Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, be literate with the Quran. Build a relationship with the Quran. Otherwise, this is a case that existed and it can happen to you as well. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about one specific time, and he says in one ayah, which is the first time where he says that the kibr that was there in shaitan, he accuses this group also to have. And he says, أَفَكُلَّمَا جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ بِمَا لَا تَهْوَى أَنفُسُكُمْ istakbartum. Every time a messenger comes, that he doesn't give you what your desires want, means you have a hidden agenda behind your faith, behind your heart and your deeds. And it does now, what the Prophet's given you doesn't coincide that hidden agenda. What do? Istakbartum. You seek pride. And the same thing, down the shaitan, when that story, he wanted to be the vice on earth, the leader on earth. And he didn't get that. What happened? Led to istikbar. Led to him being proud. So what does this happen? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this actually led to their disbelief. That they knew what was there, but it led to their disbelief. Just like it led to the disbelief of shaitan, it led to the disbelief of this group that sought to have pride over these things. And then what did this refer to? Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes back and says, reiterates what they did and this pride. And what happened? All of this because of a pride and hidden agenda. They killed prophets. They broke their contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They worshipped calves. They did so many different things. And what did this lead to? This led to them having this desire to stay within this world. They don't want to go back to Allah. Because everything, first of all, they're losing hopes in that, and they're gaining more hopes in this. They have this hidden agenda to try to find out get more and more, whether it be wealth, whether it be power, whatever it is, and it's causing them to want to stay here more and more. Whereas all of us are going to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then this led to them calling enmity to Jibreel alayhi salam, calling enmity to the messengers alayhi salam, and causing an enemy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that, now they're losing so much hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they know that they're not supposed to, but they started now following the actual devils in their deeds. And what did they learn? They learned black magic from them. They separated between the husband and wife. They did all this other kind of devilish acts that was all based off their desires. They get something that they wanted. And this led to now, or at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there's a lot of hatred from them towards the Prophet ﷺ. And the believers, they did nothing to them. They had a contract in the beginning. They said, you're protected, you're here in Medina, there's no problem. But it led to them so many times going against the Prophet ﷺ. And at that point, all you can do is live off hopes, and their claims are, well, they're children of Allah, and they make these kind of claims to just keep riding on those hopes. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes back and talks about the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which we'll get into detail much more of an actual person that ourselves, the people of the book, everybody can look at Ibrahim alayhi salam as a role model and really try to learn from Ibrahim alayhi salam and his efforts rather than try to follow our desires. So inshallah, this is just a quick overall explanation of the Surah Al-Baqarah, just the first part of it, which is in the first juz. We'll continue from the second part, inshallah, for tomorrow. For now, inshallah, what I'll do is I'll have the Quran play, which of the first juz until the end of the juz, and then we'll stop the stream after that, inshallah. So this is a good time for us, our families, or anybody that's there to follow, read after the Quran, or listen to it and try to just learn from it. If anybody wishes to work on a style, we're going to try to do a different qari every night so that you can try to mimic a style and learn a different style of recitation. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum.